And welcome. Hi, my name is Barry Selby. Welcome to my daily broadcast. To introduce myself, start right up front. My name is Barry Selby. I am a best-selling author, speaker, and relationship attraction expert. I help strong, successful women find balance in love, life, and business. And I'm also a passionate champion of the divine feminine, which feeds into the first part. So welcome to my daily broadcast. This is number 252 in an ongoing series of daily Facebook Live talks. Yeah, just put that together. 252 daily. Yeah. I think catching up, called Messages from the Masculine to Inspire the Feminine Heart. And yesterday and the day before, I did a talk on the theme of no means what, and spoke on different angles about why people either don't stand in their no fully, or simply don't even say no because they don't trust it. So I advise watching those two if you have any issues or that is something that resonates with you. Today I'm doing a slightly different spin, which is say yes to love, unless. And I'll get to that in a second. So what inspires these talks partly is because, well, Valentine's Day is coming up very shortly, like in less than a week. Yes, it is that soon. And if you're somebody who's single and catching TV commercials and other things like that, you may be starting to feel like maybe you're missing the boat, like you're not getting what you want, or you're being in this paradigm of missing something because Valentine's Day is coming and you're still single. Don't sweat it. Valentine's Day is a hallmark occasion, not a requirement to have romance in the next 6 days. So I'll tell you about something you can have at the end of this broadcast. If you're interested in that, I'll tell you more about what I'm offering. But before I get to that, and I don't want to do offers in the videos anyway, these are more standalone. But you know what I'm about, so if you want to find out more information how I can help you, reach out to me over social media. Let's leave it like that. So today's topic is say yes to love, unless. And it's in a way a counterpoint to yesterday's broadcast, which is about not standing in your no. Because it sounds silly, but people don't necessarily in a relationship understand what no and yes mean. As crazy as that sounds. So I'm going to try and break it down for you in a way that maybe in my mind makes sense, and maybe it will to you when I'm finished. So, I'm a firm believer in love is a good thing. So let me be clear about that up front. I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that love is wrong. What I am saying, though, is that some people use love incorrectly, and some people have a very poorly wired misconception about love, and saying yes to something that's not real is not always a good move. So I'll get to that as well. At least I hope I will. These broadcasts aren't scripted, so I trust to remember what I'm saying and to say, and whatever comes through actually answers the question I'm putting out at the beginning of the video. Welcome to my mind. So, speaking about say yes to love unless. As I said, I'm a firm believer in love, and saying yes to love in the deepest, most powerful, profound, and whole sense, I'm a firm believer in, and I stand in it, I love it myself, I live it myself, and I love it myself. That works. And I want to give you a few advisory cautions just to be careful before you jump right in, because I know some experiences people have had. I have friends of mine who have been through this, and a friend of mine told me one about her friends that was horrendous, where she jumped into a relationship that was transatlantic, and she met the guy I think it was less than 3 months ago, previous, and she packed up everything else, moved to France to be with him. He was in France. He wasn't French. I think he was Australian or something. Anyway, she fell in love, and over a bunch of different video calls as well. Thankfully, they did actually speak on the phone, talking to each other versus just texting. Thank God. But even so, giving up her life, her business, packing everything up, and flying from, she was on the East Coast, I believe, to France to be with a guy. I mean, you can say it's following her true heart. It's about the vision, but the aftermath of a bad choice isn't pretty. So what I'm suggesting, and you may already hear this, which I appreciate if you do, but if you don't, here's some suggestions. I'm suggesting that when you become smitten, because the challenge with love is it tends to fog up your brain, which can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you do it. And so your decision-making ability and your discernment to choose wisely can get very muddied. And if you're anything like me, you probably have some history behind you, your own relationship experiences, that unfortunately have negatively impacted your choices and let me own it for myself. In my own experience, and you may relate, I have made decisions about love that I've lived to regret. Let's put it that simply. I'm going to be very circumspect about this, because from a spiritual point of view, from a holistic point of view, every relationship can teach us something. And that's a given. That's true. No argument. And some lessons don't have to come through that level of necessary discomfort, pain, or time. I think you may get a sense where I'm going with this. So saying yes to love, yes, agreed. Saying yes to love with the right person, even better. Saying yes to love with just anybody or the wrong person, that's right off a caution. Of course, that makes total sense. But how do you know it's the wrong person up front? And that is where the work is. To have discernment and understanding of what you're really choosing into. Because I'm going to throw big spiritual principles in the middle of this, even though I'm talking about fundamentals. So yes, as a whole, holistic being, spiritual speaking, every relationship can teach you something. That's number one. Number two, you are fully responsible for your choices. Yes, you are. You can't blame anybody else or bitch about anybody else. I'm sorry. Every choice you make is your own choice. As an adult, that is. But some of those choices may not be made from a very mature, a wise, or a astute place. And then you spend the next 6 months kicking yourself going, why did I do that? Well, you did it because you probably worked with the best information you had at the time. Because hindsight, being 2020, is a pain to work with because you go, oh, if I'd only known better. Well, you didn't, otherwise you would have done differently. So, making wise choices is highly advised. So how do you do that when you don't know what's coming? Because that's the other question, of course. Because in hindsight, it's great, but what about foresight? So let's play with this one a little bit. When you meet someone you're attracted to, and I've had this experience a lot in the last, because I've been single, just be sort of transparent, I've actually been single now for just about 11 years. Yes, I'm a relationship coach who's not in a relationship. Okay, we're signing off now. You're not going to watch. I understand. Know what I'm... Because I've been studying this stuff. I've been learning and healing my own lessons and watching what works and what doesn't work. And I've been very passionate about the masculine and feminine conversation, which is why my title of my broadcast are Messages from the Masculine to Inspire the Feminine Heart, and I'm passionate champion of the Divine Feminine. Because this the last 11 years has been about that for me. So that's why I've been single. But I've also had the chance to meet a lot of beautiful women that I've been attracted to. And I've been, in some ways, evaluating my response to them. And I'm going to speak to this point of view from my perspective, because I can't speak from yours. But maybe there's some lessons in here and opportunities I learned that might be valuable to you in your discernment, your choices. I've had this great gift bestowed upon me, which some might talk about as being cowardice, but I look at it as being a perhaps cautionary, certainly more astute for me. Because what I've happened, because I've been really clear about what I'm not choosing right now and what I am choosing, that I've been meeting some very beautiful women over the last few years, especially the last 2 or 3. Because I think Spirit's going, is this the one you want? Is this the one you want? I feel like I'm being played with in that sense. But what I'm noticing is these women are amazingly beautiful women. And the initial impression is, oh my God, I want to be with this woman. Right off the bat, immediate, which is that say yes to love intuition, or it's that lust even sometimes, to be honest, transparent. But what I've discovered is, as I've been learning from my own lessons, I did recommend this last week, because about the pre-date before the first date. That's a whole other conversation that was in last week's broadcast, probably about, I think that was like Friday or Saturday last week. So I recommend you watching that one. You can go find it. I can't remember what it's called now, though. I think I said about first dates. I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I've been discovering is I've sat down with each individual women I've chosen to wanted to meet up with and got to know them a bit, and discovered that once I got past the first enamored experience of going, wow, they're amazing, I discovered things that I go, not quite what I wanted. The old me would have ignored those and come just jumping right in, go, let's do this, let's have fun, and then 6 months later go, oh crap. Now, I think in a way I'm grateful, is I discover those sort of red flags in a lot of ways within a few hours. Now, I'm not sure if I could teach that as a gift, but I recommend it highly if you can figure this one out for yourself. Because having that understanding that you can, well, let me put it this way. How's this going to come through? I love how this works. Having the willingness to not put all your eggs in one basket up front is a very healthy way to approach any relationship. Sorry, a way to approach any healthy relationship. Highly recommend that. So what I mean by that is don't necessarily commit before you look. Oh, here's another piece. I was sorting through what was coming through, and it just sort of clicked in place. One of my spiritual teachers, Michael Beckwith, talks about how it's not so much about seeing is believing, it's more about believing is seeing. Meaning that you may be in a position where you say, well, I believe it when I see it. Well, the truth is you create your reality by what you believe. So you'll see it after you believe it. So you might meet somebody who's very attractive, but if you're not lined up inside for what you really do want, 90% of the time they won't be what you really want because you're not clear about it. It's this internal lens that you look through that if it's not clean and sharp and refined, what you're going to meet out there won't fit what you want because you don't have a clear vision. And it's a whole other piece, and I'll talk about that at the end because I'm realizing that's leading into my program. Not talking about that right now. I will in a minute, for those first dying to find out. So having the willingness to meet first, and again, I'll go back to predate things, I want to talk about that for a second. There's this paradigm where when you meet somebody in a social situation, or at work, if that's the way you do things, or through Tinder, Plenty of Fish, Match, whatever app you use or dating site you use to meet somebody, and the first time you get together is going to be the first date. I'm calling halt to that idea. I said this in the other broadcast, which was last week sometime, that it's so much healthier if you have what I'm calling right now, for lack of a better term, a pre-date, to meet somebody and to get to know them before you commit to a date. As in, for us men, being true men, we are required, inspired, recommended, invited to be the leader for the first date. So we take her out and we pay for everything. That's kind of what's on our plate normally. And again, I'm being somewhat circumspect because there's some rule changes happening. Not getting that. Stay on track. So, your first meeting, especially if you haven't met this person haven't met this person and talked to them much before, is have a pre-date. Because if you meet somebody who's met online, you know maybe 3 pictures and 2 paragraphs about who this person is. That's not a lot to go on. So to have a really powerful intention about what you want, you've got to figure out if the person you're meeting fits that intention. Now some of you are going, but I know what I want, I'm going to attract it. It's like, well, yes, and you may meet some people who are all sober, not quite. And you'll be willing to let go of those. And that's back to what I was talking about earlier about my journey the last couple of years of meeting some beautiful women, sitting down with them. As I'm meeting these amazing, beautiful women, and they are beautiful, I trust they find amazing relationships. Some of them I have seen have done, which is great. But they weren't for me. And initially it was heartbreaking for me because I was feeling like I was missing out on something. But what I realized very clearly, again, back to saying yes to love for the right reasons, is that by saying no, I was saying yes to me. Because from past experience, I know that when I sell myself short in a relationship, I don't help myself or my partner. So being single is a healthier choice. And that's about falling in love with myself, as in caring about myself enough to not choose to be in a relationship for the sake of being with somebody, for the sex or the comfort or the connection or whatever that is. I'm choosing to be with myself. So say yes to love, to rework the title slightly, say yes to love with yourself before you do anything else with anybody else. Before you say yes to anybody else, let me say it that way. I was just saying, might have got tongue-tied there. Okay, bring it back to, I want to keep this to a relatively succinct message. It's easy to fall in love blindly. They say love is blind, which is, sometimes I think love is deaf, dumb, and blind. That's a very cynical perspective, I understand. But the trap you may fall into, and I've fallen into before, is sometimes that love is blind adage is accurate, because we meet somebody and we fall into love with them and ignore 90% of what's not working, because we look back in hindsight and go, oh, that wasn't right. But we don't know ahead of time, because we are looking through rose-colored spectacles. We are blinded by love, blinded by the light of the other person, but we don't see the darkness that's lurking in there too. Now, before some of you respond, I know it's going to happen this way. When you're in a deep committed relationship, darkness will show up as part of the growth process. I mentioned that relationships are one of the best places to learn and grow. But it doesn't hurt if you choose at a high level of school you can be in versus a harder one to be in. You don't have to be in the most challenging relationship of your life. For some of you out there who, and the Me Too conversation has brought this forward, who've been in abusive relationships because you attracted like after like after like with the same sort of paradigm, you don't have to keep doing that. In fact, I would recommend highly spending time with yourself to rebuild trust and love in who you are before you even venture into another relationship. That's back to self-love. So I think I've made my point. Yes, you deserve love. Yes, you deserve an amazing relationship. And having wise stewardship of your choices, having discernment about who you want to be with, and knowing what you really want, I would recommend as powerful and vital precursors before you go out on dates. Then, say yes to love. First with yourself, and then with discernment for somebody you value and who values you to the level you want to play at. Then it's no more unless. It's like, let's do it. I think you got my point. I dropped a few hints about my program, which I will just mention briefly here, not as a big pitch, because I'm going to post this video in other places where pitching isn't allowed. But I have a program designed for women that I'm actually offering, particularly for Valentine, at a special deal. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. I'm not going to put the link here, none of that stuff. But if you want to find out more about how I can help you, send me a message over social media. If you haven't seen my broadcast before, I do this every day. This is why it's a daily Facebook Live called number 251, 2. You can watch all of these on my business page more easily than you can on my personal page, because I do have mostly those on my business page. So go to barryselby.author on Facebook with the blue shirt, dark blue shirt. That's me, my business page. You can also watch them on YouTube. This will be on YouTube shortly as well. If you go to YouTube, which is Barry Selby is my user or channel, and Messages from the Masculine is the playlist, you can watch them all there. And if you go to my website, which is barryselby.com, click on the video blog, and you watch them all there too. That's also got all my other content and website and everything else. That website has all my other content, programs, products, etc., etc., etc. there as well. You can find out about that stuff as well. I think that's it. I didn't see any questions, so I will respond. If you post anything afterwards, I'll post them. I'll respond below afterwards myself. I hope this has given you some food for thought. And if you didn't watch my previous broadcast yesterday and the day before about the no means what, I should say no means what, I invite you to watch those broadcasts. That was 249, 250 or 250, 251. The last two, anyway. I just lost track of the number I was on. And if you have any questions or thoughts, reach out to me. I'm here to support you. My mission, my purpose is serving women, especially, to be wholehearted and attract amazing love. I wish you well. Take care of yourself, because you are the only one that knows how to take care of yourself, right? Yes, you do. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.